COVID test? Come back later. Denver hits its daily limit on testing. What that tells us about what's going on. Billions of dollars in government loans just poured into Colorado. We continue to sort through them, learning that the record keeping by the government leaves something to be desired. Street sweeping tickets are back. Our annual reminder of how a former city official steered business to the Italian company that makes those Lambos with brooms. And our apologies for the segment last night that riled up every dog in town. We're so sorry, we might just do it again. Next. Colorado's largest COVID-19 testing site closed early today, overwhelmed by demand. People wanting to get tested is good. Not having the ability to get those tests done is not good. Now, I want to be clear, Colorado is not even close to being the kind of national embarrassment like we're seeing in Florida or in Texas. But it is reason to watch Colorado's numbers very carefully this week and next. And it's a reminder that America can still not keep its simple promise that anybody who wants a test can get one. Because it did not happen in Denver today. The Pepsi Center testing site closed its gates at 12:30. There have been people waiting in line for an hour. Denver says that it has to strictly limit that testing site to 2,000 tests a day so that the results can then be processed and returned to people in 4 to 5 days. What it seems like we're seeing today is a surge of people who want to be tested after they know that they were around a bunch of other people for the 4th of July holiday. Here's the thing about that. It's too early to be tested for potential exposure over the weekend. Public health experts say if you're concerned that you might have been exposed over the 4th of July weekend, what you should really be doing is self-isolating now and then get tested 5 to 7 days after the contact. You don't want to go too early because you could get a false negative. Here's an interesting thing about who is going to get tested. The city says that a third of the people going to get tested at the Pepsi Center are asymptomatic. And again, there's nothing wrong with seeking out a test if you're asymptomatic, if you think you might have been exposed, because even if you don't have symptoms, you could avoid passing it to at-risk people in your life if you get a positive result. But again, you don't want to go and get that test too early. Statewide, the state processed just under 6,200 tests yesterday, averaged over 6,000 tests per day since June 19th. Now, as you know, that's well below the state's goals. And with the demand surging, the testing rate indicates that we are running into that supply issue. Hospitalizations are still creeping up. Again, not the kind of surge we're seeing in those other states that are making national headlines, but worth watching more closely every day. And we'll do that here because we're no longer on that downward case trend and hospitalization trend that we had been on for so long. If the federal government's accounting of its PPP stimulus program in Colorado is any indication, things are going to be rough. Because we told you last night how the Small Business Administration reported giving 2 relatively small nail salons loans of $5 to $10 million. Well, the owner told our Steve Steger today that they actually got far less than that. And then Steve started finding other issues.
How can a nail salon can get $5 to $10 million? It's just unbelievable. So I understand their feeling.
VinFam says he's grateful we called. Now he gets to set the record straight. The Small Business Administration listed 2 of his Snappy Nails salons in Westminster and Broomfield as receiving loans of up to $5 to $10 million.
It was a shock, actually. Yeah, we received way less than that.
He says one location received less than $80,000, the other less than $60,000. Enough, he says, to pay his 23 employees at those locations while also helping with rent and keeping the lights on. The Small Business Administration, which oversees this program, kinda admitted a problem here. They say they approved those locations for bigger loans because the lender accidentally entered a bigger number, which was later corrected. Makes you wonder about the quality of the bookkeeping, right? Another entry that makes us wonder. The CEO of Forney Industries, a welding company in Fort Collins, reached out to us this afternoon. The SBA gave his company a loan in the $1 to $2 million range, which he says he used to keep all of his 170 plus employees on the payroll during the last 8 to 10 weeks. The spreadsheet says the money was used to retain 0 employees at Forney. CEO Steve Anderson says he doesn't even remember being asked that question. The bottom line, both of these business owners say the money saved them during these tough times. They just want to make sure people are getting the right information.
The accuracy of the information is very important.
So this spreadsheet also listed a business in Salina, Kansas, as in Colorado. So there's that. You know, Kyle, we got a few questions on loan forgiveness. People wanted to know how this works. The SBA told me today that they are still in the process of making up the rules and writing the rules for loan forgiveness, which kind of blew my mind because the money's already been out there. But it will likely be that if you use 60% of this loan for payroll and then the rest on utilities like rent, maybe some interest on your mortgage, that would be forgiven. Anything else would be subject to a 1% interest rate and would have to be paid off within 2 years or in some cases 5 years. Did you catch all that?
Most importantly, Stephen, is that a polo shirt?
It is. I can wear that, right?
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. It's fine. All right. Thank you, Steve. So this seems like it was forever ago, but you remember back on that first day of those Denver protests, there was that much-seen video where a driver appears to swerve and hit a protester with her car. Well, today we learned that prosecutors have had that investigation in their hands since mid-June, since June 15th. So it's up to the DA to decide now whether what we all watched on this video is a crime. So protester winds up on the hood of the SUV. It's not clear from the video whether he had no choice to jump up or be hit, or if he chose to get up on there. Then he jumps off, driver swerves back, and clips him. The driver's been widely identified on social media by name, but police have not confirmed that publicly. Face-to-face politics still works in a pandemic. A group in Boulder succeeded at collecting signatures to get an issue on the ballot in November. This issue would provide free legal assistance to people who are facing eviction. But as politics guy Marshall Zellinger knows well, free always costs somebody something.
Rui Arango collected signatures with a side of hand sanitizer. It worked.
Our success is entirely because of our hardworking and dedicated volunteers who went out there during a pandemic and put their health and safety at risk to get signatures for us.
That might be the easy part. Now, no eviction without representation must convince enough Boulder voters to allow those facing eviction to get free legal help. But free means the landlord will have to pay a new $75 fee every year. And let's be real, that means you, as a renter, will pay at least $75 more every year to offset that fee.
I don't know about you, no landlord of mine has ever needed an excuse to raise my rent. If they do that, that will be a very small amount of money to pay for free legal counsel.
An eviction does not start with a tenant immediately sent to the curb. First, the tenant violates the lease, perhaps not paying rent. Then a notice is posted. Normally, you have 10 days to get into compliance, but under an emergency executive order currently in place by the governor, you have 30 days. After that, the eviction gets filed in court, and that's when you might seek out a lawyer.
90% of the evictions in Boulder County are for non-payment of rent, and an attorney present won't change the outcome of that eviction hearing.
Todd Ulrich is the president of the Boulder Area Rental Housing Association, which represents landlords and property managers.
Our membership is in favor of the outcome that's being proposed, but we're in disagreement with how we accomplish that.
Their preference is to perhaps have the landlord pay the fee each time they go to court to evict, instead of having landlords who may never try to evict pay into a program their tenants would never need.
Because of COVID-19, you might be curious about evictions right now. Even if this were to pass in November, the earliest it could take effect is May of next year, Kyle. One thing statewide, people collecting signatures could learn from this. In Boulder, they grouped with 2 other groups to collect signatures from voters at the same time. They had 3 groups. They may not have agreed with each other, but they saw a voter and said, sign all of our petitions at once, help us all out.
I kind of like that. It's like one-stop democracy. Like right over here, guys, get your democracy hot and fresh out the oven. All right. Thank you, Marshall. So last night, we intended to provide you with a moment of zen simply for the dogs in your household because they had a really stressful weekend, what with the fireworks and all. And then you sent us video after video proving that what we thought was going to be a moment of zen actually caused a moment of commotion in your home. Listen. It's not like we played a video of a bunch of dogs barking. I mean, that clearly would make your dog go ballistic. Right now, play the video.
I was looking around like, is this really happening?
The untold story of the race to save a life at St. Mary's Glacier. And we mark a pandemic milestone in Denver as the city decides we're well enough to start paying street sweeping tickets again. Reminds me of the beautiful story of the city employee who got a free trip to Italy, then decided Denver needed more Italian street sweepers. It's a love story, really. Next. Denver is resuming street sweeping tickets tomorrow after months of ticket-free parking, even on street sweeping days. It's because so many people were home during the pandemic. Now, it's easy to complain about these street sweeping tickets in Denver rather than celebrating what truly is a love affair between an Italian company and the Denver city official who steered business to them. Each spring, it begins. The dance of the DeLevos. Denver's shiny fleet of Italian-made street sweepers like little Lamborghinis that you can't drive but still cost you money. They are sleek, compact, nimble, precision machines cleaning our streets of dirt and your wallet of money should you forget to move your car in time. The ticket, $50. Each street sweeper costs $227,147. So it pays for itself in about 4,500 tickets. Denver and DeLevo, a love affair that included a vendor-paid trip to Italy for a city official, who then recommended that they add a DeLevo electric sweeper without getting other bids. There's no time for bids when love, like dust, is in the air as the DeLevos dance through Denver streets.
July heat is on, and today we're tracking gusty thunderstorms producing lightning and damaging winds to 60 and 70 miles per hour. Temperatures this afternoon soared into the upper 90s, a trend that will continue for most of this week. Triple-digit highs for Greeley, Sydney, and Scottsbluff, and Denver staring at 100 degrees later this week. Gusty storms move out tonight, mostly sunny, hot, and dry tomorrow. Any storms that form will be high base. It'll be wind and lightning and not the rain that we need. And so in Denver for tonight, a stray storm early, then clearing, low 64. Hot, dry tomorrow, high temperatures back in the mid-90s. And we move through the mid-90s into the triple digits at the end of the week and first part of next week. May see some relief from the heat in the form of showers Tuesday night into Wednesday. Let's hope.
Strangers tried to save a life in Colorado over the weekend. Just because they didn't succeed doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it.
I think there were some really wonderful people, angels that came out that day.
A lesson in strength at a time of tragedy. Next. Perhaps you heard about the teenager who drowned at St. Mary's Glacier on the 4th. It's just terrible. 19-year-old Victor Farmer from Centennial. You did not hear about all of the strangers who tried to save him. And we tend to talk about those efforts most often when they're successful. We heard about the actions of a man named Randy Bong that day, and we thought that you should hear him talk about what he saw and what he did.
Every year we make it a tradition as a family to go up to, St. Mary's Glacier.
In the first year we went, we just hiked and looked around. The flowers were gorgeous, and but we did see there's two different areas around the lake where there's a really high rock and a low rock where people were jumping off. I'm like, oh, that looks fun.
Yep, we do it. We just have a good time. It's a great bonding place. Just the beauty of Colorado.
We got up there, and usually we take a family picture. Yay, here we are. Randy and Izzy, they decided to sit on this big platform rock, and they were just chilling out, and they were watching the jumpers.
The lower cliff sort of caught my attraction because there was a bright red hair bobbing on the water, and it caught my attention. I was watching this kid, and I looked over at Izzy, my daughter, and I said, something's wrong. That's when things just really changed.
And then I see Randy running. He had his backpack and he's trekking, because literally it was like halfway across the lake. And so I see him running, and then our daughter comes up and said, Dad's going to help.
So I dove in, and
I'm not surprised that he's doing it. That's who he is. He's going to help others first.
And I know the mind plays tricks on you, but I swore I saw him a couple times, and when I would go there, nothing was there. I tried my hardest, and you know, I didn't find him.
I have a lot of different takeaways from that day, and I think we're all on the same planet. We're all humans together, and we're all here, whoever we are, we're here to help each other.
I think there were some really wonderful people, angels that came out that day.
He's an amazing human being, and he showed his amazing ability that day, and I'm extremely proud of him. He's definitely a hero. Yeah.
I don't want to make this about me. I want to make it about, like, we can do better than what we're doing right now. And I think we're capable, and I think that it showed many, many times that Saturday. I think we start with ourselves by trying to do better. That's where it all starts.
Yeah, bad stuff happens, but there are good people everywhere. Hey, speaking of, your word of thanks donations are nearing the $250,000 mark. Love you people. Dan, your feedback next. Last week's Word of Thanks project that we always work on together. This is our weekly micro-giving campaign that raises money for nonprofits doing timely and important work in Colorado. Next Viewers raised more than $24,000 since last Wednesday to help out first-time moms without a lot of resources if they run into emergency expenses. This is the Family Support Fund through Nurse Family Partnership. Great program that pairs up these first-time moms through pregnancy and infancy with their own nurse they can call with questions, and then you provided the financial support that they'll need to get through tough times. We're close to passing the $1 million mark, or pardon me, the $250,000 mark, $250,000 in Word of Thanks donations. After 5 weeks of this program, you've done incredible work for 5 nonprofits in our community that all of a sudden get a boost from Next Viewers. So I will be back here tomorrow with another idea of a nonprofit that I think could really use our support. I hope you will meet me here, $5 in hand, and take a look at the impact that you have already made. We finish, as always, with your feedback tonight. James writes, hey, you and Steve Steger look alike with those beards. James, don't say that. That is an insult to Steve Steger's rich and full beard. This thing is still a work in progress. But my beard wants to be Steve's beard when it grows up. Spence writes in and says, another night for the dogs. Continues, you may lose a viewer due to the lack of cat appreciation. What precisely would cats like to see on TV? I feel like I know dogs. I know how to program television for them. What would cats like to see? Humans doing things for them? Humans in compromising situations? What do cats enjoy particularly? You can like dangle a little mouse thing across here. Chase loves the puppy show, Pam writes, says, keep up the work benefiting dogs and humans. See you next time.